welcome to yet another fan-fabulous show. As always, I hope everybody had an awesome weekend, or, you know, whatever it was that you had. Thank you, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me fine. If not, turn your volume up, because it's not on my end. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Vocalist channel. I'm your host, Denny L. Curtis, the vocalist, and friends. But thank you, Gypsy. I was a little nervous because usually everybody says, oh, I can hear the music. But this time around, I didn't see that, so I got a little nervous. But I'm glad everybody can hear me just fine. Hello, Joe, Shirley, Gypsy, Daniela, Aubrey, Drifter. Let me see what's up. Bev, if I missed anybody. I believe it's Delise. I don't have my glasses on just yet, but that's all right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Yeah, we got a lot of cool new stuff going on. As you can see, my awesomeness behind me, my spur of colors. Let me just put my, I don't have to use these. For those of you who are new, these are for me to just look even smarter than what I already am. And they're not for me to see. So, how is everybody? The rain today, we didn't have any. Thankfully, it was awesome. Oh, quick update. All right, guys. A lot of you have been asking about Monkey. And for those of you who don't know who Monkey is, well, Monkey is our mascot for the show. We also have a Monkey president, believe it or not, a.k.a. Dave. But Monkey, okay, best way to explain it is Monkey will be back home soon. He left me a note and said he's going out to find love because he is by himself and he felt left out. He felt, I don't know, lonely, I guess. So he wants a family. So I believe he's going out to find himself a wife. Monkey will be back. And for those of you who don't know myself or know people in this community, well, that's how we are. Everybody loves Monkey, and they were worried about him, so I had to explain that. So, with that being said, heck, the fact that I just explained that, don't forget, ladies, it's already posted, it's already up there. Ladies' night, that means, ladies, June 30th. All right, so it's ladies' time to really shine. We will be featuring lady musicians only for that night. It's going to be a wild, awesome time. I know it's going to be. And Joe, how are you, my friend? Monkey, no, he's not going to get monkey pox, Joe. He said he's going out to find true love. He wants a family, and hopefully Monkey will be back very soon. And if he doesn't, well, you know what? We'll just think positive for him. How's that? So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, for the first time, we are doing a live interview with a good friend of mine and yours. I've known him for a very long time. And the weird thing is that even though I know so much about him, not a lot of you know really that much about the man behind his music. So tonight is going to be a really cool treat because our friend Argent, aka John, is doing a live interview here on the Vocalist channel with us live in just a few minutes. So I'm going to ask him all sorts of really tough questions as if he's running for El Presidente. But he's not. He's going to be here with us, with me, yours truly. And you're going to be in Nova Scotia on June 30th, visiting your grand... Nova Scotia, huh? Nice. All right, Nova Scotia's cool. Never been there. I just heard it was cool. Gypsy, I know you miss Monkey, but trust me, he'll be back. I promise you. I have faith in Monkey. I really do. All right, guys. Without doing any further, all right, I'd like everybody to give a nice, warm welcome. I think he is online right now to our good friend talented musician and just an upstanding man, John, aka Argent. John,
hello, everybody. Nice to be with you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, John, they can hear you. Here we go.
All right.
Well, John, so this is kind of different, huh? It's kind of like a little flip of the coin. Now
Yes.
you're on the other side of things. How does it feel?
It's great. It's great. I can't wait to ask you all kinds of questions.
You're going to ask me all sorts of questions. You know, John, I should do an interview with myself. I should interview me. Wouldn't that be cool?
It's coming. It's coming, you know. It's only a matter of time.
We can do an interview. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Ozark. Hey, Joe.
Right.
Nice to see you there.
Yeah, a lot
Daniela,
of
Gypsy, Shirley, Bev.
people. It's weird, John.
All my friends. I love it. Delise, you're new. I don't think I know you. But
Delise
welcome.
is new, yes. Speaking of Delise, thank you and welcome. So, let me see here. For those of you who don't know, right, we do interviews. For those of you, oh, and guys, by the way, thank you so much for those of you who have already signed up and joined our mailing list. Thank you. Bev can type it in there. It's thevocalist@mail.com. You will get notified, man, too much, Denny. Notified of upcoming shows, events, and all that good stuff. As in, this Friday is the featured artist night, as we do every Friday. We feature artists such as John from around the world. All right? So let's get started. I cannot wait. So what I typically do is I ask the artist a series of different questions related to music and stuff, and they're free to answer how they'd like. A lot of artists will pre-send in some of the answers and stuff just so I can kind of follow along with them. But of course, as you know, live goes entirely differently. All right? Let me see. Joe thinks popcorn was a poor choice for a snack. He keeps dropping one or two on the floor. Well, Joe, you can't throw it in the air, man. All right.
Thank you, Byron.
Well, Byron's here too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Byron, how are you? All right. So, John, now I know a lot about you, obviously, but the viewers out there and a lot of the members don't. I mean, we all know that you're a very talented musician, incredible singer. You sing just about any range, any genre, really, of music, right? So.
Well, thank you.
Oh, of course. So let me start it off with this. And of course, the audience can, chime in. If you have a question for John, you can just type it in there. And if we have a chance or see it, hopefully John will be able to answer your questions for you. All right? Just don't make them long, really quick, because then you're taking up my time. All right.
We don't want to do that.
That's right. All right, so we're going to start off with the most common question, right? So, John, at what age, roughly, all right, were you first introduced to music?
Well, like so many other people, I think it has a lot to do with your parents when you're growing up and in the environment that you're in. I was always listening to my mother play. She played piano, and she was learning at the time. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and she used to sing at the kitchen sink while she was doing dishes, and I used to just love listening to her sing. While I was sitting on the kitchen floor, I'd listen to her sing this music. She always did these standards like Rosemary Clooney and Perry Como and Andy Williams and all that sort of thing. She was friends with Lawrence Welk. They used to send letters back and forth to each other. So
Really?
she's always been musical on my mom's side. So I picked it up there, I think, and that was like in the early 50s. So, yeah, I'm an old guy, okay? 72. So It's one of my fondest, oldest memories, though, is listening to my mother play on the piano and sing, and that's what kind of got me interested in it, not consciously, but subconsciously. I think that's how it happened, and that's pretty much it on the age thing when I first started singing.
That, John, is that a lot of us subconsciously we we don't realize it, right? Because at that age, we're so impressionable. And I think that had we, I mean, there are, right, the select few, Michael Jackson, for example, they knew then at that age what they were doing or what they wanted, right? But for the rest of us, normal people, subconsciously, I think that's how we all kind of get adapted to that. And, from what you're just saying, yeah, that's kind of the same way. That's really cool. So, quickly, so your mom knew Lawrence Welk? I just heard you say
Yeah, we used to live in Anaheim, and Lawrence Welk lived in Anaheim back in that day. I'm an Army brat, so we moved around all over the States. And he lived about 3 or 4 houses down from us. And my mother and him used to write letters after we moved. They wrote letters back and forth to each other. And I still have some of those letters somewhere in her. She's now passed away, but they used to. She was just a Lawrence Welk freak. I mean, and he liked her too. They were very good in writing with each other back and forth.
Wow.
And he was good about that. He wasn't stuck up like some people are,
Well, yeah, the times have changed, John. The times have changed.
Oh, big time, yeah.
All right, very cool, man. Very cool. All right. I just had to reiterate that because Drifter was asking you about that, so I just wanted to make sure that. So, anyways, all right. Second question I have for you here, John. What inspired you most about music? I know you said subconsciously in some sort of way you listened to your mom, but what do you think really inspired you most about music overall?
Well, I have to think of myself as I think I was basically a lonely child in a lot of ways because I didn't have a lot of friends. Being an Army brat, we never lived in one spot more than 3 years. That was the longest I ever lived in one spot when I was growing up with my parents. And we moved almost every year, I think, because he would get stationed someplace else. And so you get familiar with, you can't make friends very long before you have to say goodbye and then make new ones. And so it was very difficult. So I withdrew into myself and, pretty much my solace was music. And at that point, I was happy when I got a transistor radio and I could just listen to it. It was, I'm old enough to remember when they came out first too.
Transition
but
radio.
It was, it was a joy to have that little thing and handheld radio. And when I listened to music, with, like I say, with from my mother's side, my father said he also liked music, but he was not musically inclined. His side of the family is, none of them can sing worth a lick. But my mother's were great. All my relatives on my mother's side are all musicians, and to this day, they still are musicians. There's nobody in my family on my mother's side that doesn't play an instrument and sing. And so anyway, music became kind of a refuge for me. And so I found a lot of joy in it and peace, and that's it just stuck with me my whole life. And the more I got into it, the more I, wanted to pursue it. And I'd made up my mind that that's what I'm going to do, come hell or high water. My dad was against it, but I wanted to do it anyway. And this is I was about 13 at that time when I really got into it.
Wow. Yeah, it's weird how we take different paths, usually opposite of whether it be a mother or father, wish us to do or something. I have to interrupt you. Joe actually asked a really good question. He says, so since you were an Army brat, is Argent short for Sergeant?
Well, Argent is another band and another guy that plays music, and everybody knows that. And I'm not stealing his name or song, but that when I first went on to sing staff after I retired, back in 2009, I guess it was, I was typing in Sergeant, and I mistyped, and it already took it, and I wasn't about to go call up Sing Snap and change this and all that. And I said, I'll leave it the way it is, for God's sake. And and that's how that came about. but
Ah, you
I've
know,
just had it ever since.
well, I always wanted that myself too, Argent, and I knew it had it. Well, I understood it that it had some type of music relation to it, right?
Yeah.
But that's still a good question, though. I mean, it would make sense. All right.
Hold Your Head Up is, I think, the one of the, I think there's only a couple songs that the whole band ever did, but that was the biggie.
And that was the band that you were involved with.
No, that's the band that has the name
Oh,
Argent.
that has a name. Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Yeah,
Just
Rod
so people
Argent.
don't get confused.
Yes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Hold your head up high.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Gotcha. Okay. John, now I know a lot of this, but some I don't. And what inspired you? I'm sorry, wrong question. Who, I should say, who, let me rephrase that. Who inspired or influenced you to music? So I want to kind of reference that and say more of an artist. I mean, it could be an artist, right? It could be a family. I know you mentioned your mom and stuff already, but was it an artist or a particular one person influenced you to music?
Well, music was just something to listen to me for the longest time. And then I decided that I was watching black and white TV one day, and this was in the 60s. President Kennedy had passed away and been assassinated, and the Beatles came on, Ed Sullivan. And that was it right there. Once I saw the Beatles, I was a full-fledged Beatle maniac, like with so many millions of other people. And I said right then and there, I got to do that. I want to be that. I want to do that. And there wasn't a Beatles song that I didn't practice and learn. I didn't even have a guitar. But I had a good friend of mine who lived down the street from me who could sing, and he had a guitar, acoustic guitar. So I begged my father to get me one, and he said, I'm not going to get, it's a waste of time to be playing music, and you're not going to get a guitar doing that. He says, I'll tell you what, you learn how to play a country song on Walt's guitar, that was my friend's name, and I'll buy you a guitar. And I said, oh, I'll take you up on that. So,
really?
So we practiced, and I ended up playing Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison, which, of course, is not really country, but to me it was in those days. I thought that was country. But I know my dad didn't believe that. But it doesn't matter. I played it perfectly, and he got me a guitar. So Walter and I, after that, we would just be playing in his. He had like a laundry room behind his house, and we used that as our practice place. And we played guitar and sang over and over again, literally 6 hours a day, every day in the playground. No matter what we were doing, we were singing and playing. And that's where I learned to play. Between me, my friend Walter and I, we were a duo, and we played on the Army bases for free, in the officers' clubs and stuff like that. And it was a blast.
So
good memories.
So, from what I'm hearing, you were. Well, I see many here typing that, they were Beatle fans. I particularly am not a huge Beatle fan. I don't want to get trampled here. I like the Beatles.
Well, you're on course for that, but that's okay.
Well, I like the Beatles, truth be told, right? And there are some good stuff that I think the Beatles, put out. And no, it has nothing to do with because they were in competition with Elvis. Technically, there wasn't any competition, but
no, I don't think so
either. Some of the stuff they did, I thought was great, yes, but I think that it had to be more of the era, I think, of when you were born and stuff to really, I think, appreciate the Beatles, right?
Yep, you had to be a baby boomer and living in right at that moment in that time, and it just enraptured you.
Yeah, I mean, well. All right, now here you said, John, I'm just reading one of your things here. You said, so later on, in speaking of your music and stuff, you went on stage and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about that, about going on stage, singing at the Officers Club and stuff like that, because you did mention that you moved around.
Right.
Hence being an Army brat and stuff. So when did you start out, like when you said, okay, you know what, now I've learned how to play. My dad bought me a guitar, even though I didn't learn how to play a country tune, but good enough for him to buy your guitar. When did you really start saying, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to make a go at this, and I'm going to form a band. Like, I mean, how did you get started with that? Because that always interests me when somebody can either A, learn how to sing, play an instrument. What inspires them to go out and just start doing that?
Well, when Walt and I were just me and him playing guitar, two acoustic guitars, we decided that we can't live with just that, so we have to have drums too. So we got this little 8 or 9-year-old kid on, play pal of ours that we happened to have a set of drums. So he became our drummer. So we were like a threesome, and we were only playing in the laundry room. Okay, we weren't playing out anywhere at that point. But when we got good enough that we got tired of just playing for ourselves, we said we got to play for other people. And, so we had a friend that lived across the street was like an 18-year-old, which was a real big adult. He was somebody we looked up to. He had a band called the Aardvarks, and they played in all the skating rinks and bowling alleys and stuff around town. And they did Beach Boys and almost exclusively, and they were excellent. And I could hear them practicing over at his house, and then we'd be practicing over in the laundry room, and we see who could be louder than the other one and outplay them. And that was good to have that little competition. But we went to the officers club, and we actually begged to play. They did, they look at these young kids and they say, "Oh, for goodness sakes!" But since we weren't asking for money, they didn't mind.
Right.
And they even furnished us with instruments. If we didn't have any instruments with us, they'd give us the microphones and all that stuff. So we had all the stuff we needed because it was there in the service club. And that's where we got on stage for the very first time, and that was really it. I loved it from then on. I mean, and the soldiers loved it too. They walk in and clap and enjoy what we were doing.
So you were like in your late teens or like early adulthood, let's just say 18, 20, whatever, right?
No, I was 16, 17.
Oh, wow. Okay, so,
yeah.
All right, so in your mid-teens then, or late teens, whatever, you guys were playing at the Officers Club. Now, did you, I know it's a while back to kind of feel or remember the emotion, but like when you started out there, like, what was the feeling, because I always like to know the stuff about people and what the true emotion is. Like, in other words, you're sitting there saying to your boys at the time, all right, guys, listen, we got to do good. Now, even though you're not getting paid, they're lending you the hall, the instruments, and all that stuff. But, I mean, weren't you nervous, like, when you guys were first playing out? And, I mean, were you guys, like, that good or decent enough to have the confidence to really just get up there and start playing?
Well, I'll tell you something. We did have confidence because when I listened to those other bands around us and people that were playing at the time, and Walter could harmonize and I could harmonize. Don't ask me how we knew how to do that, but by default we were like Simon and Garfunkel harmony, man, all the time, and that was a plus right there. So he could play his guitar, and I could play a different lick on my guitar. And between the two of us, we were Chad and Jeremy all together in one big thing, and we felt pretty confident. Another thing that helped was that there was hardly anybody in the club. I mean, they were just people that would walk through, and sometimes they'd stop and listen and stuff like that. But it was just, soldiers walking by for the most part.
Yeah, but that's really cool.
At the beginning. Yeah.
You got, and I was reading here too, and I found very interesting. Matter of fact, we're going to pull one of your recordings up because for those of you who are members of Sing Snap and everything, a lot of you, well, I do, but a lot of you keep your recordings. I go through and I probably delete a good half of them, if not more. I get tired of them. I don't want them sitting around anymore. John, however, has over 8,000. Okay, that's 8,000 recordings. So I asked him.
Oh, but that's nothing. There's people that have more than me.
Well, that's
Sing Snap.
Yeah, that's insane. Not that it's a bad insane. It just means like that's a lot of recordings, right? So,
Right.
but it can also, what's cool about that, though, is when you look at as simple as this platform, like SingSnap, seems, right, of one artist, and because we're interviewing John, we use John as an example, has that many recordings, and when you look at the other artists, say like Michael Jackson, Elvis, all these guys, they have all these recordings. People are like, man, how did these people record so much music, right? And they still have unreleased material. Well, take a look at your own recordings, and then you kind of get an understanding of how these artists were able to do what they done, right? So with that being said, because of the amount of songs John has, he really couldn't specify any particular song in general. So what I did is he gave me just kind of a list of several songs, and I went ahead and I picked some out. So I'm going to play this one here, John, and actually what I'll do is I will send this one here right in, and this one is, I believe, the Scarborough Fair. This is a duet, it says here. Simon and...
It's with myself.
It's with... Okay,
Oh.
so you're harmonizing with yourself.
Right.
Okay. So this is one of John's recordings here. And this is the original artist, Simon and Garfunkel. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, John, and we're going to play this. And then after this, I'm going to ask you a couple questions on the song. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is Argent. Just sent you the recording. The Scarborough Fair. This is in a duet, John, with himself by Simon and Garfunkel. Here we go.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Tell her to make me a caricature in the deep forest green. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and tracing the sparrow on the crested ground. Without no seams, no needs of work for the child of the man. She'll be a true love of mine. Find me an acre of land, a sprinkling of leaves. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and washes the grave with his silvery tears. Between the salt water and the sea strand, the soldier got a band. She'll be a true love of mine.
Oh, my sister's on. I love that. Yeah.
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Soldiers to kill as you gather.
So this is Argent, and he, with this particular song, I'll have John explain it to you a little bit better, but what he just explained to me was that this song right here, you said you had 5 layers on this particular song, John. So explain for those of people who don't know what the layers mean, explain them a little bit of how you recorded that song right there.
Well, like anyone that has tried to do harmony with themselves on SingSnap knows that you can sing with yourself, and then you've got 1 layer. Then you sing with the 2 of the layers again, and that's 3 layers, and 4, and so on, depending on how much harmony that you need. for the song. This particular song required a lot of harmony because you have the cantil that's going in the background and they're singing at the same time that another part of it is singing, and so you have to layer it in order to get everything on there. And a shout out to my sister Janet. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Janet.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, Janet. Glad you.
And thank you all for those wonderful comments. That's very nice. Thank you.
Janet, so nice to meet you. Sorry, John, didn't mean to interrupt you. Just want to say hi to your sister.
That's all right.
Hello, Janet. Thank you for visiting. I'm glad you're here to listen to your brother. I love John, by the way. Really nice guy, awesome friend. You know him all your life, Janet. You can say whatever you want here. All right, we're not.
Uh-oh.
Be free, Janet.
Janet knows me probably more than anybody, honestly.
I'm sure. Brian, take care. Thank you so much. All right, so let me see here. Now, this is a really cool question that I like to ask everybody. All right, aside from music itself, because in my opinion and experience, not only with myself, John, but others, you know, similar. I grew up in a musical family. A lot of people here have. But one of the things I found that really separates people differently is when somebody has involvement with music and they have that in their life as a consistent, that they tend to be a little bit of a different format, right? More well-rounded people, I think, and their experience, I think, just is so diverse. So, in your opinion, aside from music, what skills do you think that music has taught and or helped you with personally? What skills do you think music has helped or taught you with personally?
Well, I think that being in front of people on stage, of course, is the difficult thing for people at first. And you know, I did it professionally after we left Fort Knox and moved on. I did it professionally for about almost 20 or some odd years, and I also worked a regular 9 to 5 in some of those years. So you know, I kind of mixed everything up, but. Getting on stage in front of people, every time you're on there for the first, the first time you step on the stage in the first 5 minutes, you have a little flutter in your gut, you know, that just gives you a little bit of uneasiness because you don't know what the audience is going to be like, and they're never the same. But you, after I've sung the first song or said the first, note, it seems like everything goes away, and then I have a plan in my head. I read the audience and say, this is what this audience wants to hear, and that's what I play. I've changed the type of music I play strictly by what the audience I'm looking at, what I think they're going to like, and that's always been a challenge, but it's fun to do it that way.
It is,
and
fun.
you learn from that.
It is, and you know what you just said, and I know a lot of you out there right now can relate. You know, even on SingSnap or any other platform, when you're singing and others are hearing you, or I know a lot of you were shy originally for your songs to be played, but it builds that confidence that you know, it helps you acquire that confidence, and I think that's one of the skills that you get, right? Especially playing live with music, as you just mentioned. So that's really, really cool. And the other thing I like to find out too is I still don't know what type of singer I am. I'm just an all-around vocalist. I like to sing lots of stuff. However, in your case, John, what kind or what type of singer do you think you are?
Well, I think that I'm a cover singer because that's what I like to do best. I like to sing songs that have been done by what I call the masters, the people who made the hits. And the reason I have a different attitude toward that than a lot of people do. A lot of people say, "Oh, do your own thing and sing it your way and do it." You know, and I've always said, I don't know anything. The masters know everything. And I feel like if you become versatile and you try to sing a little Tony Bennett, a little, Led Zeppelin, a little country, a little, jazz or bluegrass, if you mix it up, you learn a lot more and you have a whole lot more fun with music by mixing it up and being versatile. And I think that if you try to emulate those people who are the professionals, that in the end, you end up having your own sound. It's created for you because everything that you've learned to do is, a little bit of piece of this, a little bluegrass from this guy, a little rock from that guy. And that's what makes you who you are because you've learned the nuances of what the masters are doing. So when you sing your own music, then you are you. But to start off, I've seen so many bands start off and say, we only do our own stuff. We don't do any, we don't do covers, we're not like that. And I think that's crazy. Right. They're just acting like they're better than the masters, and that's bullcrap, to me.
Well, I agree with you to a large extent, right? And Joe just kind of threw it out here, because when I said I really don't know what kind, and Joe said, well, Denny, I'm an Elvis impersonator. Well, yes, I did that professionally, but that's not what kind of singer I am. And later on, we can get into that about me. But the interesting thing is the whole mixing of things. When I listen to your songs, your recordings, and again, I've known you for a long time. But if you had, John, if the magic music genie came to John and said, listen, you're going to have to make a choice. If you had to choose, what artist would you like to be and why?
Well, it changes all the time. So if I say something, it's not today, it's not going to be what it is tomorrow. I mean, I personally have a few people that I enjoy singing more and listening to more than any others. And I like Steely Dan because I like progressive jazz. And I like, of course, the Beatles, but I've moved on from them quite a bit and gotten more into more complex things and I like Crosby, Stills and Nash because of the chordings that they use and Joni Mitchell and that kind of thing. To me, it's James Taylor. I like the intimate songs that tell a story. Generally, anything that will move me, I like, and I only play what I like. I don't play anything I don't like.
Right.
I mean, there's some songs I won't do just because they don't move me. I have to feel the song. If I don't feel the song, I don't want to sing it.
So
I don't know
if this music genie said to you, John, listen, you got an hour. I mean, from your gut, one known artist that you have to be. Okay, that's it. One from your gut, your heart, right now. What artist is it? Just off the top of your head. I'm curious about that. Who would be? It's tough, huh?
It is tough because I like so many different people. I'll tell you, I like somebody that's versatile, and that would be somebody like let's say the Eagles, or the lead singer on the Eagles, or Henley? Vince Gill. Vince Gill can play any instrument. He can sing any note, and I mean, people like that are that. I love that. I'd love to be able to sing like that and play like that and everything be perfect. The guy's great. Stuff like that, it moves me, and I like watching people like that too. And I just want to be that way,
Well, I think
But that gives you a goal. That's what your goal is. Your goal is to try to be better. I never say you're good enough because nobody's good enough. If you take that attitude, you don't grow.
Amen.
I think.
To that, I agree with you 100% to that, and that is such a proven statement. We hear all the time, John, especially since I started doing this show. When we started doing this a while back, we just had, our sound of everything was just.
Oh, my other sister's on. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary. How are you? John's other sister. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. I was just explaining to your brother, he just made a nice comment and it's a true comment too, that you're never good enough, and it's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. I always tell people, John, all the time that
It is positive. You're
It is
right.
positive. Yep. That without failure, success doesn't exist. So when people say I'm a
Yep.
failure, well, good. I'm glad you're a failure.
When you think you're good and you're
right.
good enough, then you're never going to get really good. You
That's
really have to always think that you can do better.
Yes, absolutely. John, so what I'm going to do now with that being said about the artist and stuff, I'm going to play this other song here that I like. And I'm going to send it to the members right now. Now this song here is The Lee Shore, and this is by David Crosby. Let me see here. So this one you recorded, let me see, actually not too long ago. So this is one of your newer ones. And what I want people out there to understand too is John is such a diverse vocal range, and I mean him and I have done duets of just, you know, some fun off the wall stuff, right? But if I need somebody to do harmony with it, it's amazing how well this man can harmonize just about to anybody. So, and that's not easy to do. With that being said, John, this here is one of your recent recordings, The Lee Shore by David Crosby. Here we go. I was moving my lips without any sound, and it's kind of weird, right? Because
Thank you, everybody, by the way, for the nice words. I appreciate that.
I was just explaining to John, I said, you know, he has just such a nice, smooth voice, and, you know, all of his recordings that I have personally listened to, there's nothing that I've heard, you know, that he really can't, and that's a 3-part harmony, by the way, so as he explained in his other song, that's John, 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 which is really cool. And for the record, it, as easy as it sounds, it's really not that easy to harmonize with yourself sometimes.
And to try to sync it up with sync step.
That's right.
That's the tough part, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And
but everybody knows that who uses it.
well, right, exactly. And one of the things that I will say too, that not a lot of people are aware of, is aside from, John being on the team as part of the Vocalist show and everything, and being an artist, John also, he does and helps with a lot of the back end stuff, musically, the technical stuff and everything else like that. So it just goes to show the diversity of people. And I personally will stand up against anybody that when you're involved in music, and music is part of your life, I think it just opens up the creative side of that brain. Now, I could be wrong, but I think, John, in your case, especially with music and the way you sing and how you just collaborate different songs and everything, I would have to take a stab and say that you are a very creative individual, right? You kind of like to just make things up, even though they exist, but either add to it, improve it, be a little bit more creative.
Well, I try to, I really don't try to add things to anything, though. People yell at me about that all the time. But, I'm not really an imitator. I don't like imitating people, but I like to pick the nuances of their vocals and their music and the way they play and build on that. I don't try to sound exactly like them. I just try to sound like me singing in their style. That's what I'm trying to do. And hopefully it pulls off most of the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, well, add on meaning, in other words, you add your style is what I'm trying to say. Not add to that artist, but you add your style. So in addition to the originality of that song, I guess is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I add on things that I've learned from other artists and think, how would they do that?
Now, how many times, right, and be truthful, I know a lot of people just do it once. I myself probably do it 10, 15 times. But how many times, John, does it take you, all right, to record a song, do it to where you think it's halfway decent? I mean, we all understand we're not in Star Search here, right? We're here to have fun. But how many times does it take you before you say, okay, you know what, this is good enough that I want people to hear? How many times?
You mean how many takes?
Yeah. So how many takes do you do, say, for one song that you feel, and this is going to give me an understanding, that you feel is good enough for, say, just the general audience to listen to? How many takes does it take you, on average?
Well, generally whenever I do another take, it's because of something that's not right on the levels or the synchronization. But if it sounds right in that respect, then I usually crank music out at 15 minutes per song at the longest. Even with harmony, because I just layer it. I've gotten a practice of doing that, and it's like rote to me.
Oh, and Helen says bye-bye. I guess she had to leave. I think there's somebody else that had to leave as well.
Oh, yeah. Good night, Helen. Yeah. Thank you.
So, John, Daniela says 9 to 20. Ozark says about 400. Yeah, I agree with them.
That's about right.
And even with that final version that I allow, and I say that very, very loosely, that I allow people to hear. I'm so critical of myself, as you are, as many people out there are, right? But did you ever get sometimes when you think a song, okay, I've done 2, 3, 4 takes, and then you release it, you open it up, but then you go back, right? And this is why I delete a lot of my stuff. But then you go back and you hear it again, maybe, I don't know, a week later, 2 weeks, and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't like how that sounds. And then you redo it again.
Well, I usually take and leave it there on purpose so that I don't have to repeat the stuff that I've already done. If I've got a good layer, I'm going to keep using that layer. I'm not going to do the whole thing over if I got a perfect layer. So that way I have to duplicate work, you know.
So what you're
A good
saying
track is a good track. If you got a bad track on top of it, just remove it and add to the one that's good. So it saves you time when you. That's why I save everything.
See that for those of you who don't know, that's what I love about John too. So meticulous with that, and I love that because, you know, me, I'm kind of like, all right, you know what? I don't care. I'll do the extra work, right? John, however, foresees the amount of effort that it's going to take, and will rationalize. Wait a minute, I already have a track laid out. So if I simply add another layer onto it, right? And John, you can do on top of that layer and then kind of improve that existing track that you already have.
No, I take out the bad layer.
Oh, you take out the
You can
bad
remove
layer?
the layers. You just take out the bad layer and add to that. That's what I do.
Well, I just moved the whole thing.
Like the song, the first song you'd played,
Yes.
Scarborough Fair. That was a difficult song to do because of the cantil and everything, and that took me about an hour to do that one because it was so many layers and stuff.
Wow. Good.
To get right, you know.
Well, yeah, because you're going, track over track over track over track, and you have 5 layers. I mean, that's a lot, right?
Right.
Move on to this next question, which is one of the 2 questions that I think are really important to everybody. And you're aware, John, that I talk a lot about being a positive influence to others, being kind to others, sharing positivity with people, especially today. It's very easy for anybody, I don't care where you come from, what you make for money, who you are, to get discouraged, right? It happens. We're human. We bleed.
Especially these days.
That's correct. So the fact that we all bleed blood, what do you think? The best way to ask this is, what would you say about your musical experience and why? That's part A, okay? What would you say to everyone about your musical experience and why? That's part A. And then part B is, what could you say to everyone in your best expression of what music has done for you overall? So part A, what would you like to say to everyone about your musical experiences and why?
Well, I'll tell you, music to me is my best friend, better than any friend that I have ever had or know. And nothing is more relaxing and more therapeutic to me than listening to good music or singing good music or playing good music. That is a therapy. It gives me strength, enjoyment, happiness when I don't have any. If I'm sad and going through bad times, I sing a song that's appropriate for that feeling that I've got. And I honestly pick out songs that are like that because if I'm in that mood, then I know I'm going to sing it better. You know, if I'm feeling it, then I know it's going to sound good. So I try to make it coincide with my feelings and how I feel about things. But I don't know how anybody could not. That's one thing that draws us all together here in Sing Snap and on all the musical places that people come from. We all get together and we all have that one thing in common, and that is that we love music and we understand each other without even speaking, just through music. We can get that feeling, and we know that I can identify with somebody else that's like that, and it's a good feeling. It's a universal language that you can have no problem with other people.
I was just going to say, John, but you took the words literally right out of my mouth. Yeah, music is a universal language, right? I mean, when you think about it, you and I started doing this a while back, and it was just a quick hiccup of an idea, right? And now look at it, and everybody that who is members, participates, and all that stuff that we feature. I say it all the time, right? It's a community, and you just hit the nail on the head that people, they love music. Everybody's here for the same reason, but when the music brings people together, right? Because there has to be a cause, right? So there has to be some type of action to make people do something, right? And that action.
Well, the life itself is just an experience that we all know and have, and it's different for everybody.
Right.
And some people have it good, some people have it bad. It doesn't matter if you're rich, it doesn't matter if you're poor.
Right.
There's a musical feeling that you can get that will satisfy something in your soul for everybody, I think. And I think that people should enjoy as much of it as they can, and make the friends that you make. You can just like wink. It's like a silent wink at each other when you two musicians get together. They understand each other without a word, because you know that we're all in this same common thread, and it's a good feeling to have people like that around you. I surround myself with people like that who make me feel good. I don't like surrounding myself with people who bring me down. I like to surround myself with people who give me good vibes,
Like-minded people. I agree with you on that.
And here's another thing. I don't mean to interrupt, but it doesn't matter how good you are either.
Thank you.
You don't have to be an excellent musician to have a soul for music.
Right.
Music is just, if you feel it in your gut and you're putting out as the way you feel, people will identify with it. It doesn't have to be note for note perfect. It has to have a soul. That's what it has to have.
Yes, and John is so right on that. We preach it here all the time on the Vocalist Show. What John just said is 100%. And
passion is everything. Yes.
Right. Passion is everything. And music, John, right, as you just stated, it's an expression. It's a way, like you just said, of talking without actually talking, without communicating.
Well, to me, I've always thought of music as a when you're looking at what is music, the answer to that question, I always say that it's exaggerated talking. It's like, you've got something to say, but you say it with flourish. And that's music. And the more you build on it, the more musical it gets. That's how I look at it.
That's actually a good analogy. And John, in the last question that I have, this one here I like probably the best out of it all is, what would you, aside from your experience, aside from your history, your knowledge, what can people take away? Let's say somebody's watching, they're not in chat, right? I know you hit a lot of the key points to everything. But what would you say is the most important thing that people can take away from learning music, making music a part of their life? I know it's hard to really narrow it down. You can say a couple of them, of course, but what do you think are the most important things that people can take away from music and when incorporating it into their life?
I think that when you put music in your life, you are putting the ingredients for peace in your life in there. I think that creates peace and calm. In a world that's going crazy all around you, music will take you right to that center point when you want to just get centered and get back to who you are and all by yourself and get yourself back to reality. Music will have the effect of doing that if you let it.
This is true. Well, John, that brings us to the conclusion of an awesome interview, and I just want to let everybody know.
Thank you all, by the way. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. This is, so everybody is aware that this is the first interview, now John's been with me since day one, right? So this is the first actual interview that I've done with John, and I've actually learned a lot because we talk all the time. You know, we have to. But this is really in depth, and I get to learn more and more. And like John said, you know, you're always learning. You never, if you think you're good enough, then keep thinking. You know, you've got to keep failing in order to get to where you want to be. And the one thing that I learned, you know, is music, aside from bringing us all together, but it's that action. Once that action is taken, John, then it's up to us, and you just said it. You know, the old saying, if you hang around with crap too long,
you're right.
Gonna smell, right? I wanted to say the other word, but it's a kid-friendly show, yeah. If you hang around with crap too long, guys, little ones too, meaning people, bad influences, negative thinkers, eventually you're gonna start stinking and smelling like them.
Yep.
So
yep.
Put yourself around like-minded people, and here, of course,
who bring you up.
That's
who
right,
bring you up.
to bring you up, to bring you up. And tonight we had an awesome reality of exactly what the definition of music, kindness is, humility, and professionalism is from our very own friend John, aka Argent, on Sing Snap. So John, I personally want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it is my true pleasure, absolutely. And John, we're going to close out with one of your songs right here, my friend. This is Rain from the Beatles, and this is Argent. So ladies and gentlemen, we will see you this Friday. Don't forget, it's Featured Artist Night, and we are doing 3 rounds this time of the Quick Pick song links. Everybody, this is John Argent, live interview. John, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Till Friday, guys. See you all again. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. Take care for now. And until we sing again, God bless. Adios. See you all Friday. Here is Argent.
When the rain comes, when the rain comes, when the sun shines, they slip into the shade. When the sun shines and sip their lemonade. When the sun shines, when the sun shines, when the sun shines. Rain, I don't mind. Shine, the weather's fine. I can show you that when it starts to rain, everything's the same. I can show you, I can show you rain. I don't mind. Shine, the weather's fine. Can you hear me? That when it rains and shines, when the rain shines, it's just a